West Covina apartment complex hug each other and shed tears, shocked by the deaths of an infant, a toddler, and their grandmother. The fire erupted inside the apartment around 1 in the morning, flames shooting from windows and doors as people in neighboring buildings ran outside, some injuring themselves while trying to rescue the victims.
Christmas Eve in Covina, California, had always been a time of warmth for the Ortega family. For decades, their home on Knollcrest Drive had been a gathering point for children, grandchildren, relatives, and friends. Every year, the same traditions returned: laughter in the kitchen, music playing softly, gifts stacked under the tree, the house glowing with string lights visible from the street. In 2008, the celebration began the same way. More than 20 family members arrived that night, grateful to end a difficult year with a night of togetherness. What no one knew was that miles away, a man was preparing for something that would turn that holiday tradition into one of the darkest Christmas tragedies in American history. His name was Bruce Jeffrey Pardo, a seemingly ordinary man who had once appeared stable, polite, and unremarkable. But beneath the surface, he had been unraveling. His marriage to Sylvia Ortega, one of the family's beloved daughters, had ended in a bitter divorce earlier that year. Financial problems, legal battles, and growing resentment had transformed him from a quiet engineer into someone consumed by anger. He lost his job, argued constantly during divorce proceedings, and blamed Sylvia and her family for everything that was going wrong in his life. By December, Pardo had isolated himself completely. Friends barely heard from him. He spent weeks assembling a disturbing plan. Neighbors saw him purchasing unusual items but assumed he was preparing holiday decorations. No one imagined that the man next door was preparing for an attack. As the Ortega family began exchanging gifts that evening, Pardo finished getting dressed. Instead of a regular outfit, he put on a full Santa Claus suit, red coat, red pants, black belt, gloves, and a large beard. To anyone who saw him walk out to his rented car, he looked like someone going to surprise a group of children. And in a way, that was exactly what he wanted people to think. Inside the trunk was a large, gift-wrapped box. But inside that box were weapons and a homemade incendiary device he had spent weeks preparing. Everything was placed with precision. The drive to the Ortega home took a little over half an hour. During that quiet trip, the air was calm. Christmas lights glowed from nearly every house he passed. Holiday songs played from windows left slightly open. Every sign pointed to joy, except the one he carried in his heart. Around 11:30 p.m., the Ortega family celebration was in full rhythm. Children were playing, adults were catching up, and the living room was bright with the colors of Christmas. That was when someone heard the doorbell ring. According to surviving witnesses, the moment the door opened, everyone briefly smiled. A man in a Santa suit stood there, holding a large present. For a split second, people believed it was a surprise visit, maybe even a playful gesture. But the illusion broke almost immediately. Within moments, the peaceful night erupted into chaos. Pardo stepped inside and launched his planned attack. He started firing on everyone with his handgun. Family members scrambled to protect one another, desperately trying to find a way out of the house. The scene shifted from joyful to terrifying in seconds, and the family's beloved home, decorated with lights, wreaths, and a tree, became engulfed in panic. Then came the final part of his plan. The incendiary device ignited, and a fire rapidly spread through the home. The flames grew so quickly that even firefighters had difficulty approaching the structure. Within minutes, the house that had been the heart of the Ortega family was burning beyond recognition. The fire was so intense that it melted parts of the interior wiring and caused the roof to collapse. It was later described as one of the most destructive residential fires the city had ever seen. By the time emergency teams managed to enter what remained of the home, it was clear that the tragedy was enormous. 9 members of the Ortega family had died, turning what should have been a night of unity into one of the most heartbreaking events Covina had ever experienced. Meanwhile, Pardo fled the scene in his rented car, but his escape was far from clean. During the incident, he had been injured, and the incendiary device had malfunctioned, causing him burns. Realizing his plan was unraveling, he drove to his brother's home in Silmar. There, in the early hours of Christmas morning, he shot himself and ended his life. Investigators found him hours later, along with detailed notes and evidence that the attack had been meticulously planned. They discovered additional supplies in his car, indicating that he had prepared for an even larger escape or further actions. But those plans collapsed due to his injuries. The aftermath shook the entire community and the nation. The Ortega family, known for their kindness and unity, had been targeted on a night synonymous with peace and love. Vigils were held across Covina, neighbors left candles on the sidewalk, churches opened their doors for grieving residents. The surviving family members struggled to process the enormity of their loss. Over the years, the Covina Christmas Eve massacre became a somber reminder of how deeply personal despair can turn into unimaginable tragedy. It remains one of the darkest Christmas-related crimes in U.S. history, a chilling example of how one person's hidden rage can destroy generations in a single night. And every December, when Christmas lights return to the streets of Covina, many residents remember that night in 2008, when a man dressed as Santa arrived at a family's door, not to bring joy, but to end